Ever since the dawn of the internet, people tried to add horror to non-horror media. Unsurprising, stuff like Sonic.exe, Bend Round, and Squidward straight up blows his meat clean off were so absurd it didn't take much for them to just spread through word of mouth. And the game where this phenomenon was most prolific was none other than Minecraft. Also unsurprising considering how popular it is. A lot of phenomenons were prolific there. But anyway, one particular series got a lot of traction recently by being more than just edgy slope. You might have heard of Searching for a World That Doesn't Exist, a series about some dude dunking on the king in yellow with his amazing Minecraft skills. But that isn't what I want to talk about today. Frankly, I don't really like Searching for a World That Doesn't Exist. Its visuals are pretty good for a Minecraft horror series, but the idea of the king in yellow, Hastur the Manstur, being trapped in the game with the Jack Black movie made it a bit hard to take that seriously. It didn't help that they straight up gave Hastur a whole ass evil monologue, which is my number one gripe with most eldritch horror media. But anyway, the series I do want to talk about is called Lured. The channel is linked in the description, so you should totally check it out before watching this. Lured's premise is quite simple. Something beneath the world is luring players into its domain, and this premise is executed about as well as it could be for its blocky medium. The story starts with a player that shares a name with the channel, showing off something crazy he found in his world. That being an end portal with all 12 eyes already in it, something that actually can happen in the game. The odds of it happening being just around 1 in a trillion. Light work happened to my buddy Alex once, but nonetheless still notable enough for Rafu to record. And good thing he did! When he entered the portal he was met with a quiet and lonely end dimension, devoid of the dragon or even any enderman. How curious, Rafu thought before heading into the exit portal, where he was met with what I would consider a bit of an inconvenience.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
An inconvenience in the form of a somber and barren ravine that might look simple at first glance but was apparently modeled entirely in Blender. And, at least to me, it did its job. It unnerved me and kept me on edge while watching. The atmosphere of the below is very immersive and its audio design is top-notch. Our protagonist explores his surroundings for a bit in complete silence and now lacking any gear, ends up venturing past some shady looking trees until he reaches a clearing. A clearing where he stands for a bit before some music starts playing from a distance. Music that just so happens to be rapidly approaching his location. That's where he sees the giant spider-looking thing that's coming towards him at a pace that exceeds a light jog, and instead of taking the simple exit of pressing Alt and F4, he runs back the way he came, chased by the arachnid molester the entire way. And when he's nearing the place the portal spawned him in, he falls through the ground into a tomb of bedrock, and the video ends. Now this first video is probably my least favorite from the series, which makes sense, it's more of a demo for future entries. Now in the second episode, that's where Lured really gets into its groove. The video titled "This Tree Keeps Getting Closer to My House" follows a different player called Clinton that has to deal with, you guessed it, a shady tree that keeps getting closer to his house. The video starts with a few minutes of what's essentially just normal gameplay, but it still manages to have an eerie feeling just from the way the music sounds slightly off from the regular soundtrack, and the saturation of the video also being a bit higher than it should be. It starts slow, the tree being closer is summed up as just being a misremembering of its position, which might be a bit of a horror genre staple by now. You know, assuming something impossible just didn't happen. But it works. I don't think it's unreasonable to assume you just didn't pay attention and that the weird tree is just an oddity of the game. When it becomes undeniable that there's something wrong with that tree, the atmosphere shifts and our player decides to mark its position with flowers. By the time he's done, the tree already moved. That probably doesn't sound scary at all if this video is your first introduction to this series, but because of the pacing and the atmosphere, even small moments like that made me feel uneasy. Clinton goes back to his house and states that he feels like he's going mad. Before everything goes to shit, a loud screech is heard as the time shifts to a gloomy sunset and Clinton's pigs die off screen. Personally, this would be where I would blog off and hop on a more Christian game, but maybe that's just me. Instead, our boy decides to Washington it and go cut down the birch bastard, to some demoralizing results. The durability of his axe going up as the tree reformed itself and moved closer to his house undeterred. Clinton doesn't have the mindset of a hustler, so instead of thinking about the very efficient wood farm God just gave him, he decided the best course of action was to pluck the beast from its roots. And so he started digging his way through the tree. And he did so for 3 minutes straight. Now, I'm not sure how good your Minecraft know-how is, but digging straight down is like the no-no number 1. And this is proved when Clinton falls directly into an end portal, ending up in an unfriendly looking place.
What the fuck?
That's where the video ends and the next one begins. Clinton starts wandering around the Minecraft backrooms, first running into a familiar looking ravine and then into a solid wall of bookshelves that eventually forms into a maze of bookshelves. He wanders around the maze until he finds a chest with some seemingly random items that will come in handy later, soon after he reunites with his old buddy, the birch tree. And back to its old habits, the tree starts doing its weeping angel routine. But when Clinton politely asks it to stop, it decides to shake things up a bit and just straight up grow legs and do this the old-fashioned way. But Clinton remembers the universal weakness of all trees, their lack of stability, so he trips it and beats its ass while it's down.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga!
Afterwards, dropping some menacing lines that imply there was a history here we aren't aware of, which is also implied in the video I skipped called Unforgiveness, which is 40 seconds of ominous footage of that fuck-ass tree with some Morse code playing in the background saying, "Why do I keep remembering?" I do kinda love the idea of this guy having generational beef with a Minecraft tree, but anyway, after the birchy side, the situation evolves when a message from Rafu, the guy from the first video who ended up stuck in a hole, appears in chat asking for help. The two are a bit confused on account of unwillingly joining each other's worlds, but they quickly get along and Clinton decides to go and rescue Rafu. He climbs down a crusty ass staircase and foreshadows some possible backstory, and when he reaches the bottom of the ravine, we get a real interesting bit of information. Rafu complains about not wanting to be in that situation and how he only wanted to play the game regularly and get full netherite, to which Clinton responds with, "What is netherite?" This raises the stakes a bit. If whatever lured the two into the void is capable of messing with time, it might be a bigger threat than just deleting their hardcore worlds. But maybe Clinton is just pulling a prank, who's to say. In his first appearance, we can see campfires in his house, so he's not playing on that old of a version. That might have been just a continuity error though, I'm not sure. He keeps threading through the ravine until he reaches the forest where Rafu got chased by the spider thingy.
This piece of shit.
Clinton is quite unamused by how the trees look, but he ventures ahead nonetheless. What a nice guy, facing his fears like that to help Rafu. Thank God the trees weren't birch though. After a close encounter with the tarantula thing, he finds Rafu's bedrock prison. It being made out of bedrock of all things complicates the situation a bit, but there are a few ways to face through it. Rafu even knows of a few exploits that require ender pearls or a boat. And hey, look at that, Clinton just so happened to get a boat from that chest in the book maze. How convenient. Well, I mean, truth be told, that's also a way of getting Rafu out. A pretty efficient one at that. The image that flashes after the summary execution is that of a few layers of something, one of which starting to glow red. This video's description is "the layers expand once more", which makes me think that Rafu's death fed whatever this dimension was and helped it expand and maybe infect the worlds of others. But anyway, Clinton drops a one-liner and dips out. That's my boy! The next video follows a new player that's trying to go about his day and build some stuff. He does so until he hears one of his pigs die. This isn't super weird, entity cramming is a thing that happens sometimes when too many mobs are in the same area. This wasn't really the case for our guy, but it could be reasonably rationalized as that. Anyway, this however doesn't stop at one pig. Our blue guy panics as he keeps losing piggy after piggy, highlighting the one weakness of every protagonist in this series: not keeping the eye on the prize. Stop looking away, dude. Anyway, at least the situation wasn't too dire. Uh-oh. This is a very interesting strat for PETA to protest against industrial farming, huh? Our guy looks very confused, and he gets more confused when fucking Beelzebub starts speaking in Morse code in chat. The Morse code reads,
"You cannot sleep. Humans are like pigs. Selfish, greedy, careless, heartless. One by one you will all fall below the world."
This to me indicates that whatever is luring players beneath the world is not a nice and reasonable person. Maybe even a racist, considering how he didn't even kill any of the sheep. Or blue player goes outside his house and spots a peculiar birch tree. This is a bit of an upgrade from the last one, it seems, looking truly diabolical. Blue doesn't waste any time and starts digging to its roots right away. I cannot emphasize how good the pacing and soundtrack of these videos are. It might seem like I'm shitting on them a bit with my editing and whatever, but I'm not. These are about as scary as it gets when it comes to Minecraft horror. Which isn't a lot, but go watch them, will ya? He falls into an end portal and ends up right into the good old below. Flexing his intelligence, he does what no other protagonist has done so far. And he just dips. Smart lad. The next video sets itself apart from the others immediately. That's right.
Okay, hello.
It has a woman protagonist. Dipping into live action and being fully voice acted really got me hyped for wherever this series is heading. Our protagonist is named Perdita, and she found a tendril growing in her world. Man, it's always fucking Birch. We can note that her dog is named Matthew, which is the same name we saw in the splash text of the last video, accompanied by a link to the first video featuring Clanton. Maybe that's his real name, but it's a bit early to say. The root in her world was growing at an alarming rate, especially when she looked away. Which she did a lot. I told you it was their weakness. A week passed and Perdita decided to dig to its roots instead of like, I don't know, burning it or something. As she digs, she confesses to feeling drawn to this tree, to the point of obsessing over it outside of the game until her family got concerned. This raises the question of our last protagonist truly escaping. Maybe he ended up looking back on and ending up as the others after all. Who's to say? Perdita eventually reaches an end portal, and before entering she digs some birch that broke through bedrock, discovering a peculiar sight, there being an infestation of roots growing from the void. When she jumps into the portal, she ends up you know where. And that's when she finally decides to make a new world.
What the fuck?
To some demoralizing results. Instead of a bookshelf maze, she's greeted by a mossy cobble one. Some more live action footage plays, and when we see her again, Perdita talks about how she spent weeks exploring the area and not finding anything, before immediately finding a big ass open area filled with things. I didn't want to mention it, but the dialogue in this one is a little rough, and the voice actress wasn't terrible by any means, but there was definitely some room for improvement in that department. A minor gripe with a great series. She explores the area finding some buildings and some other things I don't know what to think of, but she also finds what looks like a representation of something turning into a tree. However, instead of the weird lanky birch tree, this looked like a regular oak one. A bit alarming, sure, but not as much as the cobblestone humanoid molester she ran into right after. Perdita is chased through the maze, and she must be pretty immersed because she breathes like she's getting chased in real life, which took me out of it a bit, but anyway. She ends up in a nook where she hides until the video ends. There is only one left as of making this video, and it's titled Beneath the Void, and it's more of a showcase on what the structure beneath the void looks like. It looks like it has multiple layers, as it was hinted in the image showed when Clanton killed Rafu, and it has many roots growing out of it. It truly does look like a potato searching for soil. At the end, some Morse code is shown that translates to ever-growing trauma. And the description reads, "The axe forgets, but the tree remembers." Now I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what the fuck is happening in this series, and I don't really have any theories either. I gotta say, it's pretty cool. If I had to take a guess, it would be that whatever the fuck that potato was, it represents lingering trauma. The line about the tree remembering feels like a dead giveaway for the theme of this series. But I'm not sure about what's the deal with the players and their connections to the below and to each other. Especially Clanton, he's got issues. Feels good to be back. I recently had some silly things to deal with involving education, and I still kinda do. My college admission exam is in a few days as of recording this, but after that I should be returning to a more reasonable upload schedule. In fact, I already have multiple videos in the works, all at once, which also might be a contributing factor in my hiatus, but oh well. That's all for today, bratans. See ya next time.